Hey everyone, it's Phil here. Another important video for those that are looking to start a service business and you guys want to get inspired and see how you guys can go ahead and replicate another successful business. Molly here started in the service industry. One, she still has a marketing job that she is passionate about in hopes of one day, letting it go fully. She already started her service business. She's been in business a couple years. We'll go over the revenue numbers in just a second here when I start the clip, but she's already done over $250,000. And here is her story. And I took the most important parts out so it will go ahead and help you see her story and help you guys grow your own service business just like Molly did here. So let's go ahead and play the clip and get started.
So this year you've already crossed 100. Mm-hmm. So in 23, do you remember what you did that year from April till December?
First year was just under 15.
Okay. So after taxes and paying out all the cleaners, would you say 30, 40-ish?
Yeah.
Gross? Okay. What about 24?
24.
Your first calendar year.
First calendar year, we were sitting around the 80, 85 mark.
Okay.
And with kind of what had happened in February, that trickled into March and didn't provide a whole lot of growth at the beginning of the year, which obviously had me a little worried that, how long is this going on and what do I need to do to ensure that this doesn't trickle into another month? So those months, we were under $500. And it was just keeping the business afloat because I did lose a lot of business from not having cleaners being able to fulfill those schedules. So that was hard to see. But the rest of the year, I would say after starting mid-April, we truly picked up, and that growth then has now obviously carried us into where we are now.
So safe to say you're all in from the beginning till now, pushing 250 or right around there. Awesome. That's great. What about?
So as you can see, slow and steady wins the race. That's what I always like to say. And honestly, for Molly's first year, taking home after everything $15,000, that is actually very, very good. Of course, it's not that, hey, I'm rich, wealthy number, but when it's your first year in business, that is actually really amazing. And then she says, next year, full year was like 85,000. Then I'm not sure if she mentioned in this clip, but I know when I watched the rest of the video, it was like 100,000, which means she's been growing year to year. And that is the important part where now she's done over 250,000 and she could continue from a stronger foundation.
What's keeping you like that drive, maintaining your drive to keep going with respect to running the Valley Cleaners?
Yeah, I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. While I was teaching, I was doing a lot of photography work on the side, which naturally led into, those clients needing help with social media and a website. And so I really self-taught a lot of those skills. And when a marketing job came available, I took it. And I was like, you know what, if marketing is what I'm meant to do and it's what I'm excited and passionate about, I'll ride that wave as long as I can, knowing that teaching is something I can always fall back on. And luckily, I've been able to follow this now for the last few years, and it's landed me at a really good spot, a great company, a good job. But I still have that itch to be doing something on my own, and Valley Cleaners certainly fulfills that. And, it helped pay for our wedding, and it's allowing us to save more and go on vacations with friends that maybe we wouldn't have been able to do beforehand, and allowing, I wouldn't say obviously complete financial freedom, but it is allowing us to, also look at our house and we want to redo the backyard, and allowing us to do so while still being in our mid-20s.
Short-term goal.
And that's what it's all about, you guys. So if you do have that itch of starting something, do it. Don't wait. Later in the video, you'll see Molly will tell you the same thing. Do not wait, start. It is just the beginning of everything. Molly says it's not complete freedom yet. However, that is the point. You have to get somewhere slow and steady, build the foundation. Eventually, it's going to be strong enough where you can quit the job, in Molly's case, her marketing job, and move on to something full-time with her service business. And then that could pay for her life and build a beautiful life for her family, just like it did for mine and so many other people's that I know that are further down the line.
Along the way.
So when you started Valley Cleaners, when do you remember month and year?
Yeah, it was March of 23.
Okay.
We were fully up. That's when I filed my LLC, and then our first full month was April.
You kind of already mentioned, was there any like deeper inspiration besides Airbnb and, seeing there was kind of a miss like with the space and the faster turnover? Was there anything else that you're like, okay, more so let's jump in and dive into this? Was there, COVID? Did that help you push into starting this?
Sure. While I had that kind of seed in my head of that being the gap, I didn't instantly jump into, I should start a cleaning company and fulfill that. I feel like that came almost a year and a half later. I started seeing people post online of service-based businesses and, the lack of large funds to start a business. So that was definitely intriguing for me.
So two things here, you guys. So Molly, I believe she works a marketing company for Airbnb from the video, and she saw an opportunity there where she could fill a gap. That's what kind of led her to starting in the service industry and picking the business she's in now. However, there's so many different ways to see that there is a gap. I could tell you right now that there are gaps everywhere. Just start. Don't overthink it. There are literally gaps in all sorts of service industries that you can fulfill, even the ones that are super saturated in extremely saturated markets. Okay. And then the next thing she says is that, which I always say all over my videos, she started because people said you don't need a lot of money. And that has always been such a misconception. People spread this rumor mostly from people that have no idea what they're even talking about when they say you need a lot of money to start a business. That is not true. In the service industry, you can start businesses for under $1,000, a lot of times for much less than that. And just any business in general, you can figure out how to start for $0. And there are ways. I've done them. I've grown multiple businesses now. And I've seen so much through the years to tell you that almost any business can be started for very little bit of money. And it's even better to start for less money because you have more skin in the game. You get to learn more things than just throwing money at it and hoping something sticks. So start lean. You don't need a lot of money. Just get started, get into it if you guys already want to.
Do you remember when you started, financially, how much did you invest to get off the ground? Because every state's different with licensing and, insurances and stuff like that. So do you remember how much you invested?
It was definitely less than $400. I started with what I needed, the bare minimum, and figured if this is something that still interests me after I get going, then I would be investing more month by month, obviously. Yeah, initially it was just the $100 and some LLC filing, opening a bank account, getting business insurance, booking Koala, and a Google Voice phone number. And then I was
like I said, it doesn't take much. Molly says, I think she said $400 or $500 to get started. She got booking Koala, other things that were necessary. Don't forget the system. System's important. Sometimes people overlook things like booking Koala, but setting things up like that is going to save you so much time every single day, which you could use somewhere else and grow faster. It is key, you guys.
So, I guess, still touching on that point, what's your approach to handling setbacks? Because that was a huge setback, losing three cleaners in a week span right before the holidays. I don't want to say failures because it's only a failure if you don't learn from it and move on. You clearly have. So what's the approach now to a setback like that and going forward, seeing like, hey, if there's another setback, this is how I'll handle it?
Yeah, I would say, you're working with people at the end of the day. So you can only anticipate so much, and there's definitely always going to be surprises. I learned from that situation that I can't get too frustrated when it happens, because then it's almost like my head's a little more frantic on what I'm going to do. but you just have to take it step by step and day by day, depending on the situation at hand. There's only so much I could do the first few hours, but I need to make sure that I did it very well, or it would affect everything else to follow. So just making sure that, I take a deep breath, I acknowledge, yes, this sucks, and it's okay to be frustrated, but I can't let that, impact the rest of my week as I'm communicating with customers that are upset and frustrated, right? Like I still have to be that source of helpful.
This is exactly the right mindset, because in business, in anything that you guys do, there will be setbacks. There will be things that are going to be challenging. And the most important part is you cannot quit during those times. You have to, learn from that setback, whatever it is, whatever the hard time is, go day by day, make sure you put things in place so it doesn't happen again, and learn from it. And who knows, maybe it will happen again, but it shouldn't if you put things properly, but it definitely shouldn't happen a third time. So take a breath, look at the full picture, build things around it. Don't let it ruin your week, your day, and continue from there.
What do you do to enhance your customer loyalty and make sure we're getting these one times turn into recurrings?
I would say providing a good service up front, right? Anybody who's looking for a one-time deep clean, I always follow up on afterwards. If they're looking for something reoccurring, even if it's not something that they mentioned when they originally booked with us, right? They obviously have an interest in their space being clean. So following up with those customers afterwards, I can't follow up with everybody. I just don't have the time in the day to do that. I did in the beginning, and that did get me a good reoccurring base. But also having open lines of communication with the customer as well, I think is important. I do get text messages at 7:00 at night from Airbnb host who's, last minute booking and they need a cleaner. And so being able to respond to that where, if I don't have those lines of communication open and I'm not responding to them in a timely manner, they may have to move on to somebody else as well.
So guys, when you guys start in the service industry, the most important part is reoccurring revenue. That is why these businesses are so much easier to grow and scale, because you don't have to start over from every single month, if you're like you would if you're chasing one-time customers, right? Every reoccurring client that sticks and you get them, you can continue growing. Even if it's slow, you can continue growing as long as you keep them. And there's important ways to get them. First, you have to provide great service. That is non-negotiable. If you do not provide it, they will cancel. You're going to waste marketing dollars acquiring them. You're never going to grow. So that is the first key. That's the foundation. Then there are other things. Following up. Molly says that sometimes she doesn't have time to follow up. I would fix that. If your goal is to grow, if you want to keep growing as fast as possible, fix that. Make sure you follow up. Anybody that's one time, try to get them to, first get the feedback, see how everything went, and then of course try to get them to become a reoccurring client, because many of those will do so if you give them an incentive to do it, especially if you give them a discount. Now, the next point, the third point, is give discounts before they even sign up. So on your Booking Koala website, on your booking forms, already have discounts in place, telling them, hey, if you sign up for weekly, monthly, whatever the frequency for your service is, you'll get 20% off every visit, 25, 10, whatever it is that will work for your industry. And you'll see a lot of people right off the bat will sign up for those services. And that is how you predictably grow your business. It is key that you guys, pick the most reoccurring business you can and scale that way if you want the closest, the best, the highest chance of success with a service business.
Final question now, something that is not software related, not business related, more life related. If you could go back in time and talk to 10-year-old Molly, what advice are you giving her?
Just to follow my intuition and my dreams. I would say I never expected to be where I am now, even 8-10 years ago. In college, I thought I had one idea of what I wanted to do, and I was very happy and content with it. And I still would be if I had to revert back to it. but not being scared to take those leap of faiths and having confidence in myself as well, right? A lot of people have instilled that confidence in me. I can't say I just got here on my own, but if I didn't take those leaps and strides and have faith in myself that, I may fail and I will have to be okay with that, but what if I don't? It's those what ifs and those possibilities that have continued to drive me forward and pushing my life in a space where I never expected it to be.
Guys, first, if you guys enjoy content like this, give a comment under this video. Tell me also what you would like to start if you guys would be starting a business, because I love hearing those stories. Or if you started a business, especially with Booking Koala, I love to hear your stories in the comments if it was the right decision for you guys, where your business is and things like that. And from this ending clip here, you could see, there's so much value in that last clip. First, follow your gut. You don't really know where you guys are going to end up. For me, I followed my gut. I didn't know where I was going to end up, and it took me so far. And, as I'm making this video, I'm only 33 years old. I've been in business since 19, so about 14 years. And I've done so much, and I always feel like I'm just getting started. The only regret I always have in life, there's just one. I wish that I started just at least 1 year sooner. And, from doing so many of these Booking Koala overviews and seeing so many that Mike has done of these interviews, there are a couple things that always are said from people starting with Booking Koala. One of them is start now. That is probably the most common one. 2, they wish they started sooner. And 3, make a lot of mistakes. Be welcoming to mistakes, because making mistakes is what gets you closer to success.